Tremendous here. Got another book review here for you. This is another short story from the Persolus Race, Volume 1, a collection of short stories. This one was called Community Service. It's number 10 out of 16 and was written by Melina Munton. It is still science fiction. It was still published August 26, 2021, and this one came in at 60 pages. This one was the longest story that I've read, the short story from this particular compilation so far, and I got a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. This is my spoiler-free review. I am probably going to touch on some smaller spoilers and stuff. I know spoiler-free is so just misleading. There's going to be some smaller spoilers, not the end of the world, nothing's going to ruin the story for you or anything like that. But if you don't like spoilers at all whatsoever, please pause the video, go down to the description below, click the link, get a copy of this book, and read it for yourself. Then come back, listen to my review, and let me know what you think. If it was right, if it was wrong, it was somewhere in the middle, love to have a conversation about it. So anyway, this book, the main character's name is Hector, and he is the son of a planet's councilman. I think this is kind of like the president, but it's more of like an inner council of people, but his dad is the head honcho. He's the main guy. Zechariah, I believe his name is. Hector's a drug addict. He does a drug called Ambrosia, and he's your typical spoiled rich kid. Runs around, does whatever he wants type of stuff. That's what it kind of leads you to believe. And basically, he's forced into this program to perform community service after killing someone while he was high. He got basically manslaughter charges, ruled against him, and they were found guilty. It should have given him the death penalty, but due to his dad being basically the president of this particular planet, he got this community service, RETS, and I'll get into that later. But he, instead of getting the death penalty, which I guess he should have, his dad intervened and gave him community service. And my biggest problem with that is that it's never really addressed. It's, well, daddy intervened, and so now this is cool. And the whole population, like, it never comes back to haunt him. The family of the people he killed, the citizens, I mean, let's be honest, everybody in this world, whenever we see a celebrity or, somebody's son who may or may not have done something, society tends to lash out at that individual. This guy walks on water. It eats at me a little bit, but we'll get into that in a minute. The cover, been over the cover 9 other times, 10 times, whatever. It's good. I like the cover. No problem with the cover whatsoever. The editing for this story was actually really good. I have no problem with the editing whatsoever. Didn't run into any misspellings. Didn't catch any grammatical errors. It didn't switch perspective. The author has a real good grasp of how to tell a story when it comes to writing it down. The story flow is good. The pacing was good. It gets repetitive. There are 12 mini tasks that he has to complete in order to complete his community service, and then basically all is forgiven. We'll get into that in just a little bit. And the overall feel of the book, like I said, I got no problem with the way the story was written. My issues, well, we'll talk about that in just a second. The pros for this book is that the editing is phenomenal, like 0 issues with the editing whatsoever. I didn't catch any error. Well, there was one. He left out the I. It was that one letter. 60 pages, one letter, not a big deal at all. Great editing. I don't know if this individual edited it themselves or if they had somebody do it, but wonderful editing. Love that very, very much. Creatively, this story is very imaginative. Unfortunately, and I know this is the pros, but all the tasks are unfortunately not intelligently solved. And I'll get into that more in the spoiler-filled review, but in this one, a lot of really, really high potential tasks, it just, unfortunately, the way Hector goes about solving them is borderline ridiculous, and we'll get into that. It's very well paced, though. I'll give it that. It does get a little repetitive. 12 tasks in 60 pages when it's supposed to be a short story is excessive. You could have probably done half of that and been able to flesh out each task, making Hector's ordeal with each of them an actual ordeal. But that all being said, for 60 pages short story, it was well paced. The author did keep it concise. It's just, it was a little too abbreviated in certain places. Especially when it comes to solving the issues he had to solve. But other than that, the pacing, I got no problem with that whatsoever. And the formatting was excellent. There was transitions, there was everything was put together correctly. The sentence structure, the paragraphs. This was excellent. Like when it comes to an editing and proofreading section and stuff like that, top marks. The cons, unfortunately, were many. It read like a plot of a comic book. It literally had, in the first, I would say, 15, 20 pages, you could tell the author came back after a long break from this story because their writing style changed a little bit. In the first 15, 20 pages, you get a lot of blam, boom, yowza. That's not me making things up. Those are literal quotes out of the book. And it's like, the guy went and aimed his weapon at the target, blam, boom, kazow, and it was, no, this is not the correct format for that. I know every author has their own voice, and I respect that. That being said, I think this author figured it out about maybe about a third of the way through the book and dropped it all together. So either somebody else wrote the beginning of this book, or the author realized that it was a little silly with the blam, boom, pow, and all that other nonsense and got rid of it. I'm glad they got rid of it. I wish that they had removed it from the beginning of the book too, because it felt very cringy. Every time I read that, I was like, if it was an animated cell or like a comic book cell or something like that, sure, that would have fit because it would have been the little boom thing like from Batman. But this was not the case. This is a science fiction story. This is supposed to be I wouldn't say serious story, but more grown up and stuff like that. Not a comic book type of thing. And yeah, I know comic books are for grown ups, but it's a different writing style. And the author, like I said, I think figured that out about a third of the way through. I just wish they had gotten rid of that altogether. Hector wears 4-foot thick plot armor. It's a little ridiculous. Some of the tasks that he has to do are interesting. You get excited when you hear about them. Spoiler, one is to hunt down a lion. Like, that's kind of cool. There's a lot of questions about what a lion is doing on a terraformed planet and all that. It is not explained. Short story, get it, no problem. I can suspend disbelief there. But the way Hector goes about taking down the lion is ridiculous. There's another part where he has to fight the second thing he's got to take out what's it called, like a mold type of thing, like this big algae beast, and there's no precautions, there's something in the air that makes it really difficult to breathe, and the only thing he has to do is wet a piece of cloth and put it against his face, and all of a sudden he can breathe fine again. It's just, this plot armor is so thick. After like the third task, you start to realize this guy could walk into Mount Doom, pimp slap Sauron and forge his own ring that would be stronger than the other ring. It's ridiculous. A lot of really great tasks are here. Like I said, creatively, very imaginative, but there's just no intelligent solution to any of the problems. The author's great at coming up with problems, not great at how to solve them. It felt multiple times like the author realized that they had written themselves into a corner, and instead of taking the time to figure out a clever way of getting through it, they just yada, 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 and all. In fact, in some of the tasks after the fact, he didn't actually solve it. He didn't actually do it. It's just he was able to complete like the issue, but never actually the task, but the task just got completed for him. Like just kind of, oh yeah, that happened off screen. Don't even worry about it. It was frustrating. His abilities are never explained. Sometimes he's super strong, sometimes he's super fast, sometimes he's super agile. He takes some hits that should have hurt him very badly. He gets kicked by a horse a couple of times, a full-blown, genetically engineered horse at one point. I'll get into that more in the spoiler-filled review. And he's fine. He's fine. That's not, ask anybody who's been kicked by a horse if they're still around. If they were just like, nope, it's cool, it's cool. No, let alone multiple times. No, you're not taking a hit like that and just walking away. There's quite a few things that happen, and it's, like I said, his abilities are never fully explained. Why is he so strong? Why is he so fast? Why is he so agile? His background is rich kid, pampered, completely entitled, and he was a cop at one point. But never did it say he was, I mean, yes, it did say that his genetic makeup was the best it could possibly be, but it didn't say anything about him being Superman, or even Batman for that matter. It was a little ridiculous and made it very difficult, if not impossible, for me to suspend my disbelief. The author, unfortunately, and this happens a lot in some of these short stories in this particular collection, they forget what year it is. It is the year 3257 in this story. Okay, we're talking 1,000+ years into the future, and they don't have Google Maps. They don't have any way to scan the planet to find things. Like I said, at one point he's looking for, in a lot of them, he's looking for things, and it's like he just has to search. At one point, he's wandering around in a jungle until he literally stumbles upon what he's looking for, which is ridiculous on its face. But the problem is it's 3257. We are traversing the stars. We are scanning solar systems. The whole not being able to find something on a planet without having some sort of reason for it is garbage storytelling. I'm sorry, it's just, at one point he's inside of a cavern and can't communicate with a ship because of how thick the walls are, the rock. No. We can communicate in caves today in 2022. Okay, you could be inside of a cave and communicate outside of the cave. The technology exists now, and we're nowhere close. We don't even go to the moon anymore. It's 3257 in this story. We are literally traversing the universe, and we communicate back and forth. It's been shown in multiple stories. No chance. No chance a lot of the issues that come into this author's story would actually be issues. And it eats at me. This would be a great 2257 story, because that I could buy. A lot of the technology and stuff like that is that time, with the exception of like the healing beds and stuff. And even then, I could see it by 2057. I could see it, maybe. But it just kind of ate at me. And because of that, there's a lot of plot holes. A lot of the way Hector overcomes the challenges in his multiple tasks are just they're riddled with plot holes, and it's frustrating. I would love to get into them, but I don't want to spoil anything. We'll get into that in the next section. And like I said earlier, Hector killed somebody while high on drugs, okay? Never addressed other than he feels some guilt about it, but at no point does he ever try to redeem himself. At no point does he ever try to go back and right that wrong. At no point does he ever want to do something for the family or the friends or anything else that he affected. I know he killed at least one person. I'm not sure how many others. Basically, he crashed a ship into something, and it could have been one person, it could have been 10 people, it could have been over 100. It never really tells you, but it definitely confirms that he killed somebody, and that should have been the death penalty, and he's not even grateful that he gets the opportunity. At first it starts off maybe he's a little suicidal because of the guilt, and I'm like, okay, that's really going to come back, but by the 4th or 5th task, he's going back, hanging out with buddies. He starts doing drugs again. He starts doing the Ambrosia again. No side effects. No side effects whatsoever. No issue. No addiction. He's able to reject it when he doesn't want it, and he gets mad at people for showing it to him, but when he needs it, or just whatever, he'll take some, and no conflict whatsoever. No side effects. No twitch or anything like that. And it's really frustrating. Like, there's that whole plot line that's just basically a big plot hole, because it's, oh yeah, he's got this vice, but it's not really a vice. It's like being addicted to chewing gum. If you don't have it, it's not a big deal. But if you do, it's a little bit nicer, but it's a little rude to be doing it in high society. Don't chew gum in front of the rich people. That's rude. But if you're out with the scum, chew all the gum you want. Don't worry. As long as you brush your teeth, it'll be fine. It's literally like chewing gum level of I don't know, issues. And it's a missed opportunity, and it's a plot hook that's dull. I'm not happy with how that was used at all. And the community service thing that he's doing, that he's under this RETS program, it's completely unmonitored. He's able to go wherever he wants on the planet. He doesn't have to check in. He doesn't need to ask permission. He has somebody driving him around at first, but after a little while they have a falling out because of the drugs, in fairness, but that's not like his internal struggle. The NPC, the supporting character, had a problem with it and ditched him. I know, minor small spoiler, I apologize. But the point is, he's got no chaperone. He's got nobody watching over him. He's got nothing that says that, hey, if you don't complete this task, we're coming after you. There's no, like, the worst he has is a couple of magnetic, like, bracelets on his arm that will, like, link his hands together or whatever. No explosive in his neck or in his head. No, you have 10 minutes to, complete this or you'll self-destruct. There's no consequences at all. In fact, he does fail a couple of his tasks. I know, spoiler, but the point of that is, there's no consequence. They just give him another task. So what's the urgency? What's the threat? There's no time limit. There's no time set at all. It's just, here's the task. Get it done when you can, however you can. Good luck. No training involved. No equipment given to him. Just good luck. Fix this. And if you don't worry about it. We'll figure something else out. It's ridiculous on its face from start to finish. And I hate to do it, I really do, but this was a 2 out of 5 star book. I did not like it. I didn't hate it. And the reason I didn't hate it is because there's a lot of foundation. There's a lot of really good potential here. It's just the execution and the finish is awful. Just awful. But the idea, the RETS program, Hector's initial backstory, the character, the tasks that he has to accomplish in order to get past this. If this author would have cut the amount of tasks in half, give them 5, fail 1, 6, sure, whatever, and actually put some effort into clever or be, just intelligently defeating these tasks, like or accomplishing these tasks, I should say. This would have been a 5-star book easily. The ideas are there, the concept is there, the ending was flat, but there's a reason for that. It's just there's so many things that could be done to fix this book. I don't know. Maybe it spiraled out of their control. Maybe it was part of maybe it was a story that was already written that they just converted over to this. I'm not really sure what the idea was, but I did not like it as it sits, as it's written, and in this book, it's pretty bad. It's really bad, and it can be fixed. There's a lot of potential here, but the author would have a lot of work to do. So definitely a 2 out of 5. I did not like this book, or this story anyway. So here's the spoiler-filled review. I'm going to go over the whole thing, and I'm going to get into everything. You will not miss any points when I'm done here. So if you don't like spoilers, pause the video now, click on the link below, get the book, read it, come back, listen to this, and let me know what you think. Was I right? Was I wrong? Was I somewhere in the middle? Do I need to be, institutionalized? Whatever you want to do. But yeah, let's come back, get in the comment section, have a conversation. Love to have that. So it starts off, like I said, Hector is placed into this Refugee Ex-Convict Transitional Service, or RETS program. Clever. I like me some acronyms. No problem with this so far. He's got to basically do 10 tasks that are given to him by this AI. And then if he completes these 10 tasks, then all of his crimes are forgiven. But it starts off and it's like, if you complete these, great. Your crimes are all forgiven and you can go about your life however you wanted to. The thing is, though, he fails to complete 2 tasks, and he's just given 2 extra. Like there's no consequences, no penalties, no shock, no limb gets blown off, no 3 strikes and you're going to death row or anything like that. It's just you failed, so you get another task. Aw, minor inconvenience. So what's the point in doing the tasks at all? What if he just failed them all and then for the rest of his life, the worst inconvenience he had was a pair of magnetic bracelets that are on his wrist, which nobody seems to activate? Like, there's no gun to this guy's head whatsoever. He doesn't want to redeem himself. He doesn't want to get the cuffs off. He doesn't want to do these things. He wants to die in the beginning because of his guilt, so that he gets over really, really fast for killing somebody or some buddies, I'm not sure. But it's just like, it's never explored. It's never touched on. This is a 2-sentence fix, and the author couldn't be bothered, and the story suffers for it. Rex is completely unmonitored. Hector's allowed to come and go as he pleases. He only reports to an AI. There's nobody else checking on him. There's nobody else going after him, and the AI only interacts with him when he contacts it and gives it an update. So it's probably not even monitoring. And that's another thing. It's like, well, what if he just contacted the AI and said, yep, mission's complete. Oh, great. Thank you, buddy. Here's your next task. It's stupid. It's stupid. The idea is sound, but how it's implemented is absolutely childish. It's ridiculous. It's like when you got in trouble in preschool and the teacher made you take out the trash or something like that. I don't know if that was really a thing, but makes you clean off the chalkboard. Whether or not you do a good job doesn't matter. Whether or not you do it at all doesn't matter. It's just busy work. This dude killed somebody. Okay? There's no monitoring it whatsoever. What if he left the planet? What if he jumped on a ship, took off, left the planet, went into the galaxy? Would they have even noticed? So weak. That Rets thing, great concept, terrible implementation. Like I said, he's not monitored. He does drugs, meet with his friends, literally goes on a talk show and talks trash about the government, about how they don't care about the people, things need to change. Basically, he kind of shouts for a minor revolution. It's a little cringy and stuff like that. It's a little hollow, we'll say, grade school maybe, but it's ridiculous. Not only does he get on a talk show, but they have no problem getting him on immediately. This guy killed somebody. Imagine if somebody, like a celebrity, look at Michael Vick. He killed dogs. That's not opinion, that's fact. He was found guilty of it, did time in jail. He did time in jail. Served his time, came out, and he still gets hate. You don't see him doing interviews. You don't see him running around on TV because the internet would eat him alive. This guy killed somebody, found guilty of it, and it's a death sentence. That penalty is death, and he got away with it because Daddy stepped in and gave him community service. And the planet's okay with that. Now, granted, to be fair, the person interviewing him does come up and say, well, you did kill somebody and got community service, but that's it. That's as far as it goes. And people respond. People love him for this. Absolutely on its face, ridiculous. So, like I said, basically this RETS program is community service. Manslaughter in this world, if your daddy is rich enough, gets you temp agency work. This first task was to kill a lion. It's a genetically engineered lion that was put on this planet by Eden. Why? No idea. Why Eden, who has terraformed this planet for us to live there and thrive there, would genetically engineer a lion that not only attacks our livestock, but attacks and kills humans as well, be put on this planet makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. That all being said, very cool idea. I like that it starts off with, go kill the king of beasts. And now I'm thinking, okay, he's going to have to trap it, he's going to have to track it, he's going to have to outsmart this genetically enhanced lion that's already killed a couple of hunters that went after it, right? It's going to be a really, really cool way to go about doing this. He's going to do something clever. And then I started thinking about it. It's a lion. It's sitting in a cave. Once he finds its location, he calls it an airstrike. And lion's gone. No issue anymore. Why do they need him to do this? It's the year 3257, okay? they've got something that they could target at this cave that this thing's in once they know it's in there, and they'd be able to tell that there was a heat signature in there. It's 3257. I'm pretty sure we can assume that they've got some sort of infrared, we'll say, scanning ability of this friggin' planet. They terraformed it, for crying out loud. I think they can figure out basic scanning. We have that today. And then he calls in, okay, the lion's in the cave, go ahead and send in the airstrike. A drone goes in there, lights the lion up, and life is good. The end. Nope, he goes in to the lion's den, doesn't scout it out, doesn't wait outside the mouth of the cave with like a long rifle or anything like that, walks in with a pistol and a laser rifle, and sees the dead. There's some other trackers in there. They're all dead. Don't worry about them. They're just fodder. And of course, the lion comes in, sniffs the air. This genetically enhanced lion couldn't sniff him out, though. He's able to sneak up on the lion, shoots. It's actually kind of funny. He forgot to set up the sights on the weapon. That was cool. I'll give the author credit where it's due. That was cool. But then the lion attacks him, and it drags its claws into his leg, which drops him and hurts a lot, but it turns out to just be a flesh wound. I don't know how many of you out there have been really close to a lion before. I myself have never been up close to a full-grown lion, but I have been about a foot away from adolescent and juvenile lions. If a lion decides to take its claws and put it into your calf, you no longer own that part of your leg. It is now the lion's. These animals are built so strong, it's terrifying. And I'm not exaggerating. This lion, and this is a full-grown, genetically enhanced purple, which is kind of cool, lion that is killed multiple people already. So it's got a taste for it, right? It kills for fun. It lunges, it scratches his leg. It turns out to just be a minor wound, not a big deal at all. And then it jumps on him and is gonna bite his face off, right? A full-grown killer lion. He holds up his rifle, and the lion bites down on the rifle instead. And Hector, normal human Hector, is able to push the lion's head off of him. Number one, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Unless you put in this book, and I reread from this part, I started over to make sure I didn't miss it. Hector is not cybernetically enhanced. He does not have superhuman strength. And last I checked, according to the story, he did not come from Krypton. You are not taking an enraged, angry, full-grown, genetically modified lion and winning a battle of strength against it. No chance in any realm. And then he shoots the lion in the mouth and kills it. Okay. Then he lays there for a second until his leg stops hurting him so that he can call for a pickup. By the way, his communication stuff works fine in that cave. It stops working later. Anyway, so task 2 is this mold removal. Basically, this huge algae monster thing has taken over a part of the world, or a section of this forest or whatever, and the people want it out of there. He does no research on this mold thing whatsoever. Doesn't figure out a way to get rid of it or anything like that. Literally brings a pistol, a laser pistol that has explosive rounds in it. That's it. No reloads, no fire, not even basic respiratory. It's mold, for crying out loud. What's the first thing that anybody in mold remediation does? Grabs a rebreather, grabs something so they don't breathe that mold or that algae or whatever it is into their system, right? Not Hector, because apparently he is from Krypton. The author just forgot to tell us. He strolls in, and it's very cool. The idea of the algae monster is super neat. It's sitting in this lake, and it's the entire lake, and it's surrounded by these mountains, this sheer-faced rock wall, and a river that goes into it. He finds it no problem, because, scanning the friggin' area in 3257 was too tall of a task. I'm just going to stroll through the damn forest with my sidearm. No issue whatsoever, right? So he finds the mold, and it very slowly comes after him. The author tries to make it suspenseful and thrilling, but it's mold, it's algae. Even in the description, it's like it starts coming after him. It's like a leaf falling, in the middle of fall from a tall tree, or Austin Powers about to run somebody over with the Zamboni. I mean, come on. It's just so what ends up happening is multiple plot holes. He gets away from the algae because, he could crawl away and get away no problem. He shoots at it a few times. He's got maybe 6 shots. I don't know. It doesn't really say how many times he shoots, but he shoots, I counted about 4 or 5 times. And then the book literally says he takes out his last round, places it on the, like in the river or whatever, and sets it off. Doesn't say how he sets it off. He just somehow magically detonates this last bullet, right? It literally says his last shot. And it's kind of a clever idea. It cuts off the water. It creates kind of like a impromptu dam. And that's to stop the water from getting to the algae in order to weaken it. This thing's living in a lake. It's got plenty of friggin' water, but I liked where they were going with it because I thought, okay, this is part of a grander scheme. Maybe it's stopping it from escaping so that it can contain it. Not really sure. But no, he thought by shutting off the water, or by damming up the water, it would slowly die because it needs water to live. It's literally living in a lake. It's got all the water it needs. It can wait until it rains. The river was nice, but it's got plenty of water. So I don't know where this idea came from. Want to know what happens? Deus Ex Machina happens. His ride, the lady that shouldn't have any idea what's going on, comes flying over in the ship, drops a meteor crack bomb on the thing, which doesn't hurt Hector at all because, yes, it could destroy meteors. It literally says that in the story. He's less than 100 yards away when she drops this thing on him. On the algae, and it just destroys a little bit of the algae. Doesn't hurt him. He doesn't even get knocked down by the percussion. He's not pasted by the blast wave or anything like that. Just minor inconvenience to the mold thing. And then she dumps all of her fuel on it and does a high burn as she turns around and torches the whole thing. Sets the entire area on fire. And they claim that that's mission accomplished. He doesn't get credit for this task though, because technically his pilot defeated the mold and not him, which I thought was actually kind of clever. I thought that was funny, so I had no problem with that. But I was like, okay, what's going to happen? Nothing. No penalty. No anger. No consequence whatsoever. Just we're going to give you another task. Ridiculous. Task 3, he has to secure a stolen spaceship. Long story short, the spaceship was stolen by somebody who he is just besties with. He goes over, he sees his buddy, they talk, they catch up, they have some drinks, he gets offered drugs, he says no thank you, and then he looks over and he goes, I'm looking for, the guy doesn't even say anything, I'm looking for a ship. He just brings him to his ships, and of course, his buddy has the ship. And he's like, listen, I'm supposed to get it back, but I don't want to do that now. And his buddy goes, no, don't worry about it. Take it, and then I'll just do the autopilot to bring it back, and they'll never know. Oh my gosh, no consequences. That's what this whole story should have been called. That's the title of the story, no consequences. So yeah, he gives him the ship, he flies it over, and then supposedly the ship just leaves the impound. 3257, and nobody's figured out how to shut down an autopilot. Task 5, literally, I'm not kidding you, clean out unicorn stables. Nope, that's it. He goes to a horse ranch where this guy he runs an entertainment business, and he has genetically engineered unicorns, real world unicorns, and they're friggin' psychotic. They are super high metabolism, they eat meat, they eat plants, they eat anything you give in there, and they constantly need food. Seems like a huge error when it comes to genetically modifying something to make it basically a walking garbage disposal that constantly needs food and make it super aggressive and murderous, but whatever. So his task is to go in there and clean out the unicorn stables. So he goes in, he grabs a robot and basically has the robot constantly bringing in fresh food. Well, eventually it doesn't work. He eventually gets cornered by some of the unicorns, gets kicked around, but luckily Hector's a badass and he dodges all the lethal attacks. They try to hit him with their horn, stab him with the horn, and he's able to dodge all that. But he gets kicked a few times by these full-grown, genetically engineered horses with horns on their head. Ask any equestrian what happens if a human takes a kick from a full-blown horse. And these are described as some big horses with the horns. Hector's fine. It's like, oof. It's like, maybe he took a blow from a, I don't know, minor weight boxer. That's not even fair. That's not even fair because that would lay you out too. I don't know. Maybe he took a punch from a grade schooler. Like, it barely bothers him. It's a minor, like I said, no consequences. So one of the unicorns stabs the wall. That's how tough, how strong these things are. The unicorn stabs through a wall, through a water pipe. Why they're still using water pipes is beyond me. But yes, through a water pipe. And when it pulls its horn out, water starts squirting into the stable. And that's how Hector decides he's going to clean out the stables. Water. He's just going to leave water constantly running into the stables. So first of all, the guy who was smart enough to engineer unicorns from genes couldn't figure out a self-cleaning stable to save his life. We have those on farms now. Go to any dairy farm. They have self-cleaning floors. This is not a new problem. This is not something that needs to be, redesigned and solved. This is something we've already solved in the year 2022. It is 3257 for God's sakes. Cleaning out stables is not rocket science. And the way he goes about it is absolutely, I know I say it a lot, ridiculous. He basically lets the horse or the unicorn stab the walls trying to get him because they all just start trying to hit him. They don't try to kick him anymore. And he rips open the pipes because, again, when he needs to be, he's superhuman. And yes, they've got this Ambrosia stuff. When he takes the drug, it unlocks your animal abilities, which is okay. But it doesn't really say what the animal abilities are. You're super strong, you're super fast, you're super quick, you're like, maybe he starts trying to mate with the unicorn. I have no idea. But it's the ultimate in Ex Machina. It's whatever it needs to be in pill form or juice form or whatever form the author decides to ingest it with at that point for Hector. And then there's zero consequences. There's no twitch, there's no like memory loss, give him a nosebleed for crying out loud. Give him ringing ears, tinnitus, something, some sort of consequence would be wonderful. If there was one consequence in this book, I would give it an extra star. That's how inconsequential the whole thing is. So yeah, basically he just lets the water constantly pour into the stables, and that's how he cleans it. It doesn't say where the water's going. It doesn't say where it's sluicing all the unicorn poop is, and there's a lot of it. By the time he gets done with one unicorn and gets like the third or fourth, the other one is full of poop again. Kind of weird. Seems like another genetic mistake here. But yeah, just constant water flowing into the stables. It doesn't say where the poop's going, how it's going. There's no sewage system in this thing, right? Because he had to go in and clean the stables, so it's not like it's on a grate. Again, huge, massive plot holes. Task 6 is aggressive, angry, meat-eating birds. They are attacking a construction crew. He goes in, long story short, he wanders around in the forest till he finds the birds. The birds attack him, hurt him, but he's able to get away from them by shielding himself with his jacket. Not the last time we'll see that jacket, but this jacket is literally made out of plot device because the birds were tearing him apart, but by covering himself up a little bit by his jacket, even though it says they figured out to go after his hands and face, no issue. Doesn't lose a finger, doesn't lose an eye. He's barely hurt by the time he runs away from the birds. He's able to outrun the birds to jump on a boat, and the boat zooms him away to safety. It's ridiculous on its face, once again. How does he fix this? He gets speakers. He figures out the birds are sensitive to sound. He gets speakers, goes over to the cave that they're at. This planet is just riddled with these caves. Again, found the birds, go ahead and send in a drone strike, birds are gone. But nope, what he ends up doing is he uses speakers to upset this huge man-eating swarm of birds, and they go further into the forest to be someone else's problem. And that's considered task complete. I guess until those birds decide to migrate somewhere and take out a school. I have no idea. Absolutely ridiculous on its face. Task 7, literal bullfighting. I was actually excited when I saw this one. I was like, you know what? With everything else we've been doing so far, this planet number 1 has a huge problem with animals. I don't know what's going on with animals on this planet, but man, the Orchid Man could have a real field day here. But bullfighting. Basically, they have a gladiatorial arena where you fight a genetically modified engineered bull, and it's two to death. And he takes the ambrosia, he takes the drug again, because again, there's your Deus Ex Machina. Whenever he needs to be faster, stronger, quicker, whatever, he takes this drug and it gives him whatever abilities he needs in order to deal with the problem. And I'm not even lying to you, I'm not making this up. He takes off his jacket and tangles up the bull with its horns and its feet with his jacket. And he doesn't kill the bull. He just immobilizes. The bull cannot get out of the jacket. You ever been that way, like when you're trying to get your arm through the sleeve? Yeah, I guess it's the same concept, but that's how it does it. This bull kills a whole bunch of gang members, and Hector, for whatever reason, gives his prize money winnings to the families, as along with his heartfelt condolences, because I guess we needed some sort of character development, but it is so shoehorned in and poorly done, it's insulting. It's just insulting. Task 8 is a android cop army is being created by the police chief of one of the cities on this planet. And they're only loyal to him, and they're super intelligent and super well done. And long story short, when Hector confronts him and says, "I think you're a bad guy," he literally starts monologuing and says, "I am a bad guy. Seize him!" And Hector is able to one-on-one combat fight an android into pieces without drugs this time. So again, maybe this planet has a yellow sun near it, and the S means hope. But Hector is able to dismantle one of the androids with his bare hands before they grab him. They don't immediately execute him. But they're going to, and the robots, the super sophisticated android army, he's able to. Oh no, I'm sorry, he did take Ambrosia again. I apologize. So maybe that's why he had the thing. But it makes it so he can dodge bullets, because the robot is about to shoot him in the back of the head. He knows there's a 3-second delay because, of course, the monologuing, and he moves his head at the last second, and the bullet grazes his cheek, and it just so happens that these robots, this unstoppable, super sophisticated android army, doesn't check their background before pulling the trigger. Because you know what? That's one of the first things you're taught when it comes to firearm safety, but not these androids. No sirree, Bob, because plot armor has to. So he moves his head out of the way, and where does the bullet go? Right into the cop chief's forehead, killing him, and that shuts down the android army. If their boss is dead, the android army is useless. Just so, I guess if the guy falls asleep, there's no longer any patrolling going on, or like if he had a stroke, it would just be chaos. No idea, but task complete. Task 9, get a belt. It's some sort of technology that basically, if you're wearing the belt, it lets you feel what the people around you are feeling. So if they're angry with you, or they've got anxiety, or they're sad, you don't know why they're feeling that feeling. You just know that they're feeling that way. It's an empathy belt, I guess. I don't know. But he goes and he talks to these angel type people, again, genetically modified, and of course they're, I don't know, some sort of refugees, some sort of second-class citizen. They're born in test tubes instead of the regular way, so they don't have any rights. And then so in order to help them, he's like, all right, I'll help you get your rights and be treated like regular people, because yeah, suddenly Hector gives a crap. And that's when he goes on a talk show. Like, no problem. Gets on a talk show, no problem, because of who Daddy is. And that's when he tells everybody in the government, you're bad people, and these avian angel people should be citizens like everyone else, and everybody should be equal. And oh my God, except for me. I shouldn't have any consequences, even if I kill somebody, because Daddy. So what happens after that is he goes back, and they're so touched by what he said on the talk show, which, let's be honest, would do nothing. And it never really resolves. You never find out what happens. Did the angel people get rights? Do they not? You have no idea. But they give him the belt because, their one bargaining chip. You might as well give it up for a nice little fluff piece on some nobody talk show. Task 10. Not kidding. Stop cows from grazing in a field. I see the parallels with the Texas thing. I think this is some sort of, I don't know. Maybe they just got the idea from it. It's a really half thought out idea, but it's literally some space rednecks want to get their cows grazing in a field. And the problem with that is Eden, if it detects these cows, will deploy demon dogs to kill the cows, and then the demon dogs, after they've killed all the cows, will just go crazy throughout the planet, killing humans and anything that's alive, because that's what Eden does. Why Eden does this, I don't know. Why they can't stop that, I don't know. You find out later that they are controlling what goes in and out of Eden. They can control it. They can program Eden. So why this is even a thing, why all these horrible friggin' animals are on this planet is so beyond me. I just... Eden is malfunctioning and we can't figure it out. One sentence fix, one sentence explanation, and the author didn't do that. It's just, screw you, this is the way it is. So what ends up happening? They, the rednecks capture Hector because he's a moron, and they release their cows and they start laser blasting the dogs as they come after people. Or as they are shuttled down to the planet from Eden. I'm sorry. So they land, before they can land on the planet and start killing the cows, the rednecks are shooting them out of the sky. Not really seeing the problem here at all. They're taking care of the problem. Eden is sending off demon dogs. The rednecks are shooting down the demon dogs. The cows are grazing. What's the problem? But Hector gets loose because Deus Ex Machina, the pilot that refuses to work with him anymore, conveniently shows up for no particular reason whatsoever and frees him from his bindings, and then using a huge wrench, he subdues all the rednecks. He's able to beat them all with a wrench, a huge pipe wrench, but it's not lethal. You know, he literally hits them in the head with this thing. Not lethal, not lethal. The author needs to watch more movies. Just clearly that, yeah, you hit somebody with a pipe wrench in the head. You can say it's non-lethal all you want. You're murdering people. Hector is a serial killer. So what happens after he subdues the redneck? He shoots down the dogs with the laser guns. And then his little buddy, the Deus Ex Machina pilot, she rounds up all the cows. Task complete. What? Whatever. So like I said, no consequence if the task has failed. He just gets tasks assigned, new tasks assigned. And here's the 2 bonus tasks. Number 11, get plans for a tree put into Eden. His uncle is the guy that does that because it's a small planet. I guess the population is 12. But yeah, we want a tree put into Eden. Make that happen. His uncle is literally the guy who does that. His father couldn't make a friggin' phone call and say, hey man, I want this tree put in Eden. Can you hook me up? Yep, no problem, brother. Cool. That's what. So he gets to the Eden thing. His uncle is missing. He finds his uncle, no problem. He's pretending to be the janitor. It's this huge convoluted thing. Oh, I was stressed out, so I just didn't show up to work. And then another day went on. And then if I tell anybody what I was doing, they'll fire me. And oh, I don't know what to do. It is the most childish, immature, ridiculous issue I've seen in this entire collection. It's the most disgusting task out of all of them, and it made me sick to read it. What ends up happening? He gives his stupid uncle a pep talk, gets the stupid plans into Eden, and the stupid tree gets put into the thing. Task complete. Task 12, Tame Cerberus. Cerberus is already tamed. When he finds him, somebody's walking him around and teaching him commands. Gives him the leash. It takes 5 minutes. Why is this task in there? What were the point in these 2 tasks? I would love to sit down with the author and find out what they were thinking, because these were insulting. It was already an inflated amount of tasks. Cut them in half, get rid of the bonus tasks completely because they're insulting to the reader. Cut the 5 tasks out. The lion was cool. The bandit leader was all right, kind of ridiculous, but whatever. And pick 3 more. I don't even care at this point. The bull was cool. I'll give you the bull. Maybe find a smarter way or a more interesting way to beat him than I threw my jacket on his horn and he got tangled up in it. But these ideas, the premise, the idea, Hector's background, the situation, really good premise, really good starting off points, and then absolutely horrendous follow through. And it just kills what could have been an amazingly fun story. Hector is basically God in Superman's uniform, where there's no such thing as kryptonite. He's strong when he needs to be strong. He can take Ambrosia. Ambrosia's everywhere, by the way. Everywhere. Drugs are everywhere on this planet. The police force suck. And there seems to be no side effects with this Ambrosia, so I'm really not seeing the reason why it's illegal, why it's a big deal. It gives you superpowers until you don't need them anymore, and the planet seems to be ran by plot devices anyway. So yeah, they come in there, they take the Ambrosia, they defeat whatever needs to be defeated, and then that's it. It's out of their system, and it's no big deal whatsoever. So in the end, he gets all of his tasks completed, and he goes up to Dad, and it's a straight shot right. So basically, think of it this way: you go into the White House and get into the Oval Office after your tasks are done. To be pardoned, let go. I don't know what it would be for anyone else. Hector walks in, Dad and the other council members are there, and they're so proud of him for doing literally nothing. And they're impressed with what he said on the talk show, because of course they are. And they say, we have made a new seat on the council for you to sit in to basically be our public affairs officer. You're going to be the guy that talks to the people for us. What the hell is the rest of the council doing? That's your entire purpose in the council, is to be the people that make the decision for the people, and you find out what the people want by listening to them. There's no guy like that, no gal like that, nobody like that whatsoever. Hector, knowing he could do good, maybe atone for killing people, which was a plot point at the very beginning of the book that seemed to be forgotten by Task 1. This is something that he could have done, like he was well situated to do. He even admits it. Yeah, I'd be great at that. But then this jagoff smugly declines the offer and walks out to go work with the guy who tamed Cerberus. No consequences at all. Like I said, that should have been the title of this entire short story, is No Consequences, because Daddy and the rest of the councilmen are literally like, oh, Hector, you rascal, you meanie, you go be the little rogue you are. No consequences, Hector, I love you. I threw up in my mouth a little bit, excuse me. Like I said in the spoiler-free review, this book is a 2 out of 10. I don't hate it, but I really don't like it. And the reason for that is because there is so much potential in this story. The author sets up wonderful potential, but the execution and the end of this story is shoehorned, half-assed, and awful. I've said it like 3 times now, half the tasks. Make them actually difficult. Let Hector lose a leg. It's 3257. Daddy can afford a cybernetic limb, and that would give you the excuse in later tasks to not only show why he's faster, why he can jump farther, why he's strong enough to do some of these things without having to constantly give him the no consequence super drug. And again, why is Ambrosia illegal? What's the consequence? What's the bad thing? It's like, oh gosh, this Tylenol takes my headaches away and makes it so that my joints don't hurt anymore. Better make it illegal. Are there side effects or anything like that? No, but it's technically a drug, so drug's bad. But there's no consequences, and it helps you, and it bolsters you. No, Tim. You're crazy. It's illegal. Go to jail. That's Ambrosia. It's the super Tylenol of 3257. No consequences, no side effects, no ill, things happening or anything like that other than regular bad effects. I mean, you don't lose control. You don't go berserk. You don't forget who you are. Nothing. But it's supposed to be this horrible drug that's plaguing the planet, and that's never addressed either. Just cut the amount of tasks in half and come up with better ways for him to solve them. Come up with engaging ways, and it's okay to beat your main character up. Have him die in the end. It's a short story. You took 60 pages. That's plenty for 5 tasks, some character arcs, some background, some building, some damage. Let him get messed up. Let him lose an eye to the psycho birds. Let him lose a leg to the lion. Maybe while the lion is chewing on his leg, he tosses a grenade at him and blows him up and then almost bleeds out and is able to come back and figure that out. What, that took me 3 minutes to come up with something better in the middle of a review? Instead of I have a wrestling match with a lion and win? This book should have ended after task 1 when the lion turned him into poop because there's no way. Just like I said, I don't hate this story, but I did not like it. It's really disappointing because with just a little bit of extra work, a little bit of focus and stuff like that, this could be a 5 out of 5 star story easily, easily. And I really wish it happened. So yeah, I was really harsh, but I don't do it because I'm trying to discourage the author or anything like that. I'm trying to point out things that I see as weaknesses and problems in their story so that they can either revisit it and fix it or take those lessons to heart next time they write something. I don't want anybody to stop writing. That is not the intent of this channel. The idea is that they learn, they maybe take something from this review and improve their storyline. They don't have to agree with everything I say. I'm not saying that I'm right about everything that I'm saying. I'm just saying that this is my opinion, and if you agree, disagree, or whatever, I implore you to click the link, buy the book, read the stories, come back, and let me know in the comment section what you thought. I'd love to have a conversation. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thanks.